Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Modern Warfare 3, honestly, for the most part, I've really been enjoying since launch. I've been grinding out a ton of gameplay between multiplayer and zombies, leveling up all my guns, doing my new camo challenges for the mastery camos, of course, enjoying the throwback MW2 2009 maps. Really, it's a fun, refreshing game in my opinion because it's really based around a lot of the feedback that we've given in the past year or so. However, while I've enjoyed my time again for the most part on MW3, and it seems like those who are playing it are also enjoying the gameplay changes that were made in the content that's at hand, there is a major problem with Modern Warfare 3 that basically overshadows everything. All the good gameplay, all the good updates, all the good communication, and unfortunately, it's probably something that never is going to change, at least in any major way that would turn things around. And that, of course, is skill-based matchmaking. It is pretty insane here in MW3 so far, and I wanted to talk about it a bit more because pretty much on every single video I see you guys in the comments, I see y'all over on my Twitter or in the Discord saying, hey, when are they going to change skill-based matchmaking? Are they going to update this for any future seasons or anything? And there's some certain things that should be expected with skill-based matchmaking, and this year, unfortunately, it might be some of the worst updates to SBMM that we have ever seen. So as we get into the conversation, if you enjoy the video, even though it's on some unfortunate topics, do me a favor, drop a like. It would be really appreciated, and it does really help the channel grow. And if you're new here or you simply have not subscribed yet, every single day, I'm your one-stop shop for all things going on in COD. If you need to know about the new meta updates, patch notes, news, anything going on in game, I got you covered, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But skill-based matchmaking, everyone's favorite words there, right? Obviously, it's no stranger to Call of Duty. Skill-based matchmaking has been around all the way since like Black Ops 2, and in more recent years, obviously, it's been cranked up a lot. And in Modern Warfare 3 now, it seems like it might be cranked up to the absolute max. For some reasons, more than others, you're gonna notice it a lot more this year, which is a very big bummer. But I know right away, there's already some of you probably typing in the comments saying, Zach, quit complaining about skill-based matchmaking. Good players should fight good players. I shouldn't have to suffer because I'm not as good as someone else. You know, they shouldn't just be stomping bots outright every single game. And I'm right there with you. It shouldn't be just noobs versus pros the entire time, and it shouldn't just be pros versus pros the entire time either, though, because that's kind of what ranked play is for. Now, of course, ranked play is not live yet in Modern Warfare 3. It will be with, I believe, Season 1 Reloaded is the time period for that. And who knows, maybe, further down the road, once that does happen, the skill-based matchmaking in pubs is lightened up a little bit. In the past, when ranked's been introduced into multiplayer or Warzone, it doesn't necessarily really change how things feel at the core with skill-based matchmaking. It just happens to be that some of the sweatier players just go and live in ranked for the remainder of the year, so you don't run into them as often. But that is a potential thing. If you're ever wondering, are they going to change skill-based matchmaking? Are they going to tone it down? The only chance of that happening realistically is with the ranked play updates. They bring it back a little bit, since ranked really is where skill-based matchmaking belongs. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, as someone who statistically is in the better portion of the players, top 1% or whatever, skill-based matchmaking is going to hit a player like me the hardest, because if you do well, it's essentially punishing you. It's going to match you up with more skilled players like you, and the problem there is not the competition. I, for one, love the competition. I love competitive matches. I love the trash talk that's associated with it. I like trying to prove that I'm the best in the lobby. That's just how I've always been with anything, whether it's sports or games or whatever else. But I don't like the fact that because I'm doing well in game and going on a high kill streak or going on a win streak, that then is going to punish me with my connection and my overall gameplay experience at the core. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting the best players in the world or the worst players in the world. If I'm playing on increased ping so that my hit reg feels worse, so that my movement feels worse because of the connection to the servers, the input feels different, the enemies and the netcode there are going to have awkward gunfights with me and vice versa, so that sometimes it seems like that player might not be coming around that corner at that very instant, but on their screen they are, or then you have these situations where it feels like you're just getting insta-melted. That's all a result of skill-based matchmaking. Having the packet loss and the server disconnects and the random lag and stutters, oftentimes a lot due to skill-based matchmaking, because it's forcing you to find these lobbies that are not at all prioritizing connection, which is the main issue with this. You are suffering from success in a literal sense because the more you do well, the more your connection is not going to be factored into your matchmaking. So it's going to take you longer to find matches, and then when you do get in, your connection quality is worse. And that is the main problem because it affects good players for being good. It punishes good players for being good in a way that is wildly unnecessary. Good players versus good players should happen. And keep in mind, without skill-based matchmaking in the game, I see a lot of misconceptions here. A lot of people assume that if there was no skill-based matchmaking, then good players would just stomp on noobs every single game. That's not the case. It would just be completely random. Without skill-based matchmaking, game 1 could be great players versus great players from start to stop. Game 2 could be great players versus bad players from start to stop. Game 3 could be bad players versus bad players from start to stop. It would be entirely random every game because it'd just be factoring in connection and not skill. So there is no constant of, oh, you just don't want skill-based matchmaking because you want to stop good players every game. That's not a reality. I'd still run into sweaty players constantly without skill-based matchmaking. The gunfights would just be more consistent, and in fact, it would be even more competitive because then everyone would be on the best connection possible and gunfights would feel better. So inherently, there are some serious core issues with skill-based matchmaking. That's why a lot of players just aren't a fan of this whatsoever. Even if you're, top 1% or top 10%, let's say, a lot of players are not a fan of this system. But here's the catch. This year with Modern Warfare 3, things are going to be even more unforgiving. When you factor in engagement optimized matchmaking, which I'm sure is going to be kicked into the full effect this year because they want players on this game as long as possible, since obviously it doesn't have the hype of some previous CODs, since MW2 absolutely broke the trust of the community because it was such a bad game. They're going to be trying to get as much retention and money out of the players that are online as possible. So the engagement optimized matchmaking, the EOMM, is going to be as strong as possible. But then you look at some of the gameplay systems, and really what I'm focusing on here is the new armory system. As we know, the armory unlocks challenges require you to win games and do your daily challenges to get the majority of the core content in the game. A bunch of the base weapons are locked behind the armory. A bunch of aftermarket parts and equipment and streaks and gear are all locked behind the armory. And to get those fast, you have to do your daily challenges, like I said, and you have to win games. But guess what? In order to win games, you gotta outfrag the enemy team. You gotta try. You have to sweat in game to stay in the hard point or to capture the domination flags. You have to do well. And what happens when you do well? Then your connection suffers because of skill-based matchmaking. So the more you're trying to earn and unlock things in game at a faster rate, the more you're gonna be punished in the long run because it's gonna hurt your connection quality. It's gonna take longer to find those matches because it's solely focusing on skill and no longer connection. So these systems sort of integrated with one another means that this year the sweatiness of lobbies is going to be more noticeable than ever. There's also just some other downright bad elements of skill-based matchmaking that affect not even the good players, but the bad players too. The casuals suffer in certain senses. I know for me personally, being, in the top percent of players in game, this means that after those first couple of matches every day where it's just tracking your data to figure out the lobbies it needs to put you in, I'm always in those sweatier games. People are always playing the objective, going for all the kills, using the meta weapons, right? And that means that if I want to play with my friends that maybe aren't as good as me, they have to suffer because it's not going to let me, play into their skill base because I'm the outlier in the situation. If I'm playing as the best player in the lobby, in a party with 3 average players or below average players, they're going to be bumped up into my skill base regardless of who's host or anything like that. And then they have to deal with the sweatiness as well. So you can't play with your friends unless you're all on an equal skill level, or you just accept the fact that because one friend is better than the others, everyone else has to then suffer in game again with their connection quality and then their gameplay experience as well, because they're not going to be as good as the majority of the enemy team because of this lovely system that we have in place. So skill-based matchmaking this year is going to probably be more apparent and more hated than in any year past. And that's saying something because for years now, especially with the blow up of Warzone and COD as a franchise really reaching new heights in terms of an overall player base and audience, skill-based has been even more apparent. It's been even more at the forefront of conversations on socials and everything. And obviously the system exists for a reason. it's money at the end of the day. It's keeping players on and it's money. And skill-based matchmaking does a very good job at that. Otherwise, it would not exist, right? It clearly is being turned up and up and up every year because it's making them more money every year. And as a matter of fact, the players that benefit the most from skill-based matchmaking are the ones that won't ever even see this video, because the vast majority of the people playing COD are those that don't ever get online. They don't have Twitter or X. They don't have YouTube. They're not watching videos every day. They just get on the game after school or work. They play a couple of matches. They hop off. And those are the players who spend the most money in game. Those are the players who benefit the most. And they don't even realize that SBMM is in effect because it's benefiting them in the long run. Really, the diehards, I guess you could say, the people who are on the game constantly, always staying up to date, those are the ones that in the end get punished the most from the system that, again, solely exists because it benefits Activision and now Microsoft in terms of earnings, and it keeps the majority of their player base on for longer and on more frequently. And that in and of itself is why it will never change, at least in my opinion. As many times as we can talk about skill-based matchmaking on this channel, as many times as other creators will talk about it directly, and we'll bring it up to the devs when we have chances to talk with them, at the end of the day, it's a money-making decision, and it's very good at making money. And that's why it's probably never going to change, even though it absolutely is the biggest problem with Call of Duty every year, and with, again, Modern Warfare 3 this year. And that's why it's so unfortunate. And with that being said, it's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. It would be really appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that every single day you are always in the know for everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.